good morning. It's another lovely day in Dorset and we are out on another walk, a kind of explore walk. I think it's one of those walks where I've got a rough route in mind but not a definite route. So I'm going to kind of make it up as I go along. But there are some things I want to take in and some interesting things. And I've started at Bere Regis, which is down in the valley. And we'll finish there, of course, as well. And I'll take you round Bere Regis when we get back. But at the moment, I'm heading out and I'm climbing up a hill, as you can tell. Yes, I'm climbing up a hill to what is an Iron Age hill fort known as Woodbury. It's Woodbury Castle. So I'm heading up there. I'm still climbing, and I think because climbing hills and talking don't go very well together, I think maybe I'll pick you up at the top. But I hope you're going to join me, because it promises to be an awesome day and there's some really good stuff I want to show you later on. Okay, see you in a bit when I get to the top. So yes, Woodbury is an Iron Age hill fort which overlooks Bere Regis, but it's at the end of the ridge with amazing views. It is, I think, a single rampart hill fort. So we've got what's left of the rampart here and here. And it was used after the Iron Age as well. Of course, the Romans came here also and used it. It has a double rampart on one side, and that's the less protected side. You kind of only need one rampart on these sides because of the steep slope and the clear views. But the ridge side, I think there was a double rampart as an extra protection along that bit, which was the vulnerable bit. So I'm still climbing. I haven't quite reached the top of the hill yet, but I'm heading across to a village called Bloxworth, which is my next place I'm going to. And as I said, I'm making it up in some ways as I go, because I don't have a kind of clear route in mind. So the first part was to come up onto Woodbury Hill and take a look at the hill fort, and then to follow a forestry track across to Bloxworth village, and then we'll see where we go from there. So this is another part of the ramparts. You obviously lose quite a lot of the view. Well, we lose quite a lot of the view because of the camera, which is a bit wide angle, so therefore it doesn't necessarily show up the view as well as it does actually here, but also because there are trees. But this is another side of the ramparts, or what's left of it, which is really left to grow as a kind of meadow for wildlife by the looks, which is very nice. Lovely and quiet and peaceful now that I've got away from the road back there. I suspect that's probably more ramparts over there at the top of that hill. But this, for the time being, I'm heading through woodlands. which is really nice. Nice path. And it's quite still. Not a lot of wind. And it's very peaceful. Such a lovely day, such a lovely place. So I kind of quite fancied not having much of a plan really today. Normally I come out and yeah, I detour and I explore and change my mind part way round, but I haven't really got much idea today apart from coming along this ridgetop path over Woodbury into Bloxworth. I've kind of got a loose idea of places I want to explore, but it's not, these are kind of not tracks that are on my regular routes, shall I say. So I'm going to kind of just explore and see what I come across as we go. But there are things in Bere Regis which I'd like to show you, and in the kind of a region around Bere Regis on the way back. Anyway, as far as the walk goes, I'm currently walking through a lovely wooded track, partly conifer as you've seen, partly broadleaf, partly kind of rhododendrons and shrubbery, but it's a lovely lovely path to walk. I mean, no mud, no rocks. It's not quite a grassy path, but it's nice and smooth with pine needles and that kind of thing on the ground. So it's a very pleasant, easy, level place to walk. So I'm enjoying this so far, and I'm looking forward to the walk. I'm looking forward to exploring, I think, as much as anything, just taking in maybe some paths that I haven't walked before. Even this one is not a path, as I say, it's not on my regular route. I have walked it before, but only on kind of maybe the odd occasion. So yeah, I'm looking forward to exploring. It's good fun. I like doing this, just kind of taking off to an area and just following my nose, going where the fancy takes me. So I'll need to put up a route plan. When I get to the end, I will do a route, and I'll put the map up at this point so that you can see where I've actually been. I don't have a map at the moment, obviously, because I don't know where I'm going. Anyway, hope you're going to join me, and there's lots of things to show you, certainly later on, the bits that I do want to pass. In the meantime, just come with me and enjoy exploring, because it's going to be good. So as you can see, we are currently following the Hardy Way. Obviously comes from Thomas Hardy, and I think this goes through Bloxworth, so we'll follow this all the way to Bloxworth, because this is of course Hardy country. Back at Woodbury there used to be a major fair, annual fair, that went on historically, and certainly Hardy used that in his books. I've forgotten what he called Woodbury, can't remember, but certainly Bere Regis features in Hardy. In Hardy's novels, Bere Regis is King's Beer, That was his name for it. But I've got a few of these actually, walks that are around Hardy. I've got one based around Dorchester, which is what I call a literary walk. I must do that one and film it. Which leads me to another thing. It is now 6 months since I first started filming and cataloguing my walks and putting them out on my YouTube channel. So, well, nearly 6 months, end of June. I actually started at the beginning of January this year, 2024. And we're now middle of June 2024. So, and I've already got a couple of videos lined up for the next 2 Sundays. So, we're kind of 6 months in. And what I'd like to know from followers or new viewers is, from what you've seen, what would you like to see more of? I think that would be useful, because 6 months in, it's a kind of good time to have a little review of what I'm doing, where I'm filming, the sort of things I'm covering, sort of things I'm talking about. So yeah, it's good to have a review. The channel has grown a lot in that 6 months, I will say that, which is really encouraging and pleasing. Obviously, if you're putting out content, it's nice to know that people enjoy it, and I love the fact that I've got regular subscribers and followers who comment and encourage on my posts, and it's wonderful to build up that kind of community, if you like. But yes, if you've got any thoughts on that, then put them in the comments, because I would be interested to know. Sometimes I think the videos are maybe a little bit too long, and I do split those into two if they're overly long, if there's too much, because I do walks which are anything between kind of 10 and 15 miles or whatever. There's quite a lot of filming in that, and therefore how you condense that down into a kind of 20-minute video, I'm not really sure. I can never achieve it. I've probably got too much to say, I think. That's one of the things I'm looking at, whether I should do shorter walks when I film rather than longer ones, so that the videos are not so long. I don't know. Bit of feedback would be wonderful if you felt able to just put up your kind of thoughts, or anything specific you'd be interested in my covering in my filming. I was hoping to video some backpacking and do some kind of practical stuff around that, but haven't been able to get out backpacking yet. My arthritic ankle, I don't know whether that would actually take me carrying a 20-kilo backpack and walking 10 or 15 miles. I don't know, so that I'm not sure about yet. I'm still debating whether that would actually do far more harm than good for my ankle and scupper future walking. So I'm very conscious about kind of nursing it along, if you want to, if you know what I mean. So yes, let me know. Be interested in your thoughts. And yes, and yeah, thank you so much for your interest and for watching my channel, and for being interested in my Dorset rambles. It's been a great journey so far, and I've loved filming. Processing's a bit of a chore at times, because it takes quite a long time to process and edit an hour's video, and I'd rather be out walking than sat at the computer. So yes, anyway, thank you so much for your comments. And there's a Jenny Wren up in the tree who's just said, "I love your blog." Did you hear that? I speak Wren, you see. Isn't this spectacular? I can't believe how still it is. There's hardly a breath of wind. You can't even hear the rustling of the leaves of the trees. And I'm in this lovely mixed woodland. It's just awesome. Totally awesome. This is... It's not a wall-to-wall sunshine day. It's a sunny periods and a bit of cloud, but who cares when it's this good? So we are leaving the woods behind for the time being. We've come out onto a meadow. There's the village of Bloxworth just ahead of us. And that was a absolutely awesome piece of walking, that was. We are, let's have a look, about 2.5 miles into our walk. So those woodlands must have been 1.5 miles. Probably. Really nice. I enjoyed that. I hope you did. So I've now arrived in Bloxworth, which is a beautiful, quiet village. Well, it can be. It seriously is a very quiet village, because the road that goes through the village doesn't actually go anywhere. It's just a dead end. That's the way out onto the road out of the village. But up the other way, it's just dead end, and it reaches the footpath that I've just come from. But it does also have a church, so we will go and have a look at that. And it's a lovely church as well. Actually, the thing that I think is probably most interesting here, and this is the pulpit, is this. It is an hourglass on a stand in the pulpit. The idea being that you turn that over at the start of the sermon and it times the sermon. Make sure that the preacher doesn't get carried away. I imagine the congregation probably quite like that, but it is a rarity. I mean, they were used, but there are very few churches that still have those in situ. So there you go, that's what Bloxworth Church is known for. Well, as far as I can see anyway. It's a church which has been altered, as a lot of our churches. There is quite an old wall painting at the back, but it's been kind of modernised and changed quite a lot down through the ages. Right, Vicar, your time's up. Stop preaching now. It's a lovely church, and it's also very peaceful when that strimmer's not going outside. Well, we've got to go back out again anyway. All is still. So that is St Andrew's Church at Bloxworth. So yes, in case you didn't hear me earlier, because over the noise, this is the road through the village. Up the end there, beyond the white van, is where the road ends. Dead end. So it's very quiet. There's absolutely no through traffic. The noise you get is strimmers and gardening machines. And typically, when I'm filming, a car drives through. Now, there is something else interesting at Bloxworth which we need to look at. Well, I think I'm going to change my mind. Since I've been filming here, which is a short time, as I walk through the village, I think about 10 cars have come and gone. That's a lovely cottage. That's the old post office. But the interesting thing is round here. It's a telephone box. Now, we're used to telephone boxes being recycled, upcycled, whatever it is you do. But this is a shop. Come and browse the bazaar. Proceeds go to the church. So they've turned it into a little shop, selling all kinds of bits and pieces. Yeah, I was just talking to the lady who looks after this, and she said today is very unusual. She said it is so busy, there's so much going on, everybody's out doing their gardens and there's tree work going on, and yeah, must be at least 10 cars and vans come and gone, deliveries and things. But it is normally a very quiet village with no through traffic, and this is really unusual. I think the Bloxworth Village Bazaar. And there you go, a well repurposed telephone box. I love it. It's gone quiet now, look. That's a lovely flower growing up there. So I've left Bloxworth village behind, that beautiful quiet village that's crazy today. And yes, I'm decided to follow this track because it looks very attractive with this nice dappled sunlight coming in through the woods. That's another really nice path. I think it'd be good if we had a website where you could mark each path out of 10, because I do have this thing, I often say that it's a lovely path to walk. It'd be good if you could do that, and then so you could see a 10-star path compared to a 1-star muddy, craggy, rough path. Probably not practical. But this is lovely through here. That's another nice path. This is really nice. Good choice, I think. So for the last mile or so, I've been following this forestry track. It's got a drainage ditch or something along one side, which is surprisingly alive with wildlife. But I think it probably applies to the whole track really, because generally speaking, forestry kind of commission land and forestry tracks like this are, should we say, less interesting. It's all coniferous forest, it's woodlands. I mean, heaven knows we need these woodlands desperately, but they're obviously not as interesting to walk through as a broadleaf woodland. But having said that, there is a surprising amount of wildlife along here, especially with the water either side. There's been banded demoiselles and broad-bodied chasers, all manner of kind of dragonflies and things flitting around. I've been trying to capture one in flight, but it's impossible. I don't know how the wildlife cameramen do it on these television programs that you see. I'm sure they must have some kind of tracking, automated tracking or something on their cameras, because I just cannot follow them. It's impossible. They flit around all over the place. But yeah, I mean, on top of that, there's been orchids, all kinds of things. It's amazing. You just have to keep your eyes open. And here, for example, the whole line of orchids. I mean, that is just beautiful. And it's in the middle of just a forestry commission track. Just got to keep your eyes open. So I've decided this would be a good spot for lunch. Got a seat. Quite a nice view. And it's out of the wind, which is or breeze I should say. The breeze has actually sprung up a little bit now. So it's a bit sheltered here, which is lovely. very nice lunch spot. Very pleasant. Sat in this dappled sunlight, listening to the birds. So I've got choices in a minute. This track will take me out onto a very minor road. I don't think there's very much traffic on it at all. But I've got a choice. I can either carry on, just go along the road, which might be the best option, or I can, if I keep going further along, I will come across a track I can take. Right, so I've decided that I'm going to follow this little lane. It's quite nice actually, looking down here with the hedgerows on both sides. So I thought I'd have a little explore. It's not a lane I've ever come down. So that is the Bere stream, which is B-E-R-E, and is actually the same, of course, as Bere Regis, which is B-E-R-E Regis. And I'm kind of following the Bere stream because that flows through Bere Regis, which is of course where I'm headed. But I'm still having to walk on the road. There's been no footpaths that I can take to get off the road. The stream is off to the right, across the field, I think. But we will find it nearer in a minute. So we'll get up close and personal. And the reason I've come this way is because it looks like there's some interesting stuff up ahead. The Bere stream has watercress beds, and there is a wildlife reserve. So I've kind of come along the road partly because I want to reach those and explore those. We shouldn't be too much longer before we reach them. And that looks like a glider being towed up there. I don't know where they've taken off from, but interesting, he hasn't let him go yet. This is rather nice. It's an old chapel. It's obviously been converted, has it? Oh no. It's not been converted, in fact, it's still a church. Well, I'm very surprised. Well, I'm quite impressed that that's still a church and they still have services there. And it also looks like there might be a children's nursery or something that meets there. Ah, interesting. And I'm off-road again. That's a nice little footpath. Looks like somebody might have cut it back recently because it looks like it could have been quite overgrown. This track should take us to the Bere stream again and to the watercress beds. That's another nice meadow. And some of the watercress beds are over there. And if they come out on the film all right. But I'm expecting to see quite a lot of wildlife along this section. I'm pretty sure up there, the hill at the top, is Woodbury Hill, Woodbury Fort, where we were at the beginning of the day. Here's the watercress beds. And as you'd expect, the watercress beds are fed by the Bere stream. And in fact, Bere Regis is over in the distance. Interesting little building. It's almost like asbestos on the top. Ah, right. It seems to be toilets. I'm not sure you'd want to use them though. Interesting. What they were for. So it's something to do with the farm. More of it. Interesting. So this is one of the things I wanted to see and why I've come this way. I'm still kind of walking beside the watercress beds, which are over on the left, but also along here is a nature reserve. This is it's Wild Woodbury, and it was bought by the Dorset Wildlife Trust, and it's left to grow into a wild meadow, and there are loads of bugs and creatures here. It's the kind of place you need to come to, I would say, first thing in the morning, because it's quite warm now. So trying to get photographs of bugs is quite difficult because they're too awake and they're airborne. So it's quite hard to get decent pictures of them. But I shall keep trying. But it is lovely. It's awesome. Another awesome path. I love it. It's a very overgrown bit of track back there, but what a lot of wildlife on it. There's bugs all over the place. Amazing. Really nice. Even if I did get stung by the nettles. This has been awesome. This part really has. This is my kind of place. Wild Woodbury, as the name suggests, is all about rewilding and just allowing nature to take over. And it's been phenomenal. So many damselflies through here. I've tried to grab a few of them on camera, but this is just amazing. This is Dorset Wildlife Trust doing what they do best, I reckon. Buying up land and turning it into wonderful nature reserves like this, and right on the doorstep of Bere Regis. So if I lived here in Bere Regis, I think I would be out and about around here quite a lot with my camera. Fantastic. So as you can see from the signboard here, it's a long-term plan, goes right the way up to 2038. What's that, 15 years? 15 years from when it started, I think. So it's a long-term plan in order to get it where they want it to be. Nature doesn't do anything fast, does it? Lesson there for all of us, I reckon. Anyway, we need to head on now into Bere Regis. Yeah, I wonder who this guy is. Ah, let's see. That's very cool. A little teddy bear. And on the bench it says, "Young and old, we come together to restore wildlife." Well, there's a good message, isn't it? That's brilliant. So we're coming back into Bere Regis just briefly, because I'm going to go on a little detour to take in a couple of other things around here before we complete the walk. But Bere Regis, the name Bere is thought to come from a word that means grove or woods. Regis comes from obviously royal, as you'd expect, and that stems from the fact that King John had a hunting lodge here and visited on numerous occasions to go hunting. So that is where the name Bere Regis comes from. It was an important market town, but it's got a sad past, because almost all the buildings before 1600 have been destroyed by serious fires in the 17th, 18th and 19th century. And there was a particularly bad one late in the 18th century which destroyed most of the older buildings. So a lot of Bere Regis is actually Georgian or Victorian, and as I said earlier, features in Thomas Hardy's books quite a lot, where it was known as Kingsbere. But one of the things it has is a lovely church, and I think we're going to do a detour to take in the church now before we carry on the walk. This is the church, St. John the Baptist, dating from the 12th century, but with additions in the kind of 13th, 14th, 15th centuries, as with many churches. But we'll take a look inside before we continue our walk. things it's noted for particularly is its roof, where all these pillars have the 12 apostles carved on the end, and you can actually recognize which one is which, because they all have their distinctive ways that they were depicted in art. So for instance, and I can't remember all of them, but St. Peter was always holding a set of keys, because he had the keys to the kingdom. So that's St. Peter up there, and the others likewise can all be recognised. And the other thing it's well known for is the Turberville tomb. Robert Turberville, I think he was Lord of the Manor, so his tomb is here, and the Turberville window. And he was, of course, in some ways made more famous by Thomas Hardy, who wrote Tess of the D'Urbervilles. So he just used the Turberville name and kind of changed it slightly to create Tess of the D'Urbervilles. So it's a beautiful church, Bere Regis Church. Right, well, that's the beautiful church at Bere Regis. Now on we go with our walk. So this is, of course, the Bere Stream. Flows through Bere Regis. And a lovely spot it is too. Anyway, we are just going to do a short circuit from Bere Regis to take in a couple of other things before completing the walk. We've rejoined the Hardy Way again, just for a short time, climbing up what is essentially another holloway. Oops. And it's another one of those nice footpaths with that dappled sun coming in up there. So we're not going to actually continue on the Hardy Way today, but I just wanted to come up here and have a walk through this lovely bit of woodland. This is actually May's Wood, There can't be too many people who don't know Brian May, guitarist with Queen. Well, a number of years ago, Brian May bought quite a few acres of land skirting around Bere Regis, held lots of public meetings about what he was proposing and his plans for it, and subsequently, with the help of volunteers and the local community, he planted May's wood and created a large area of woodland. I mentioned earlier about woodland and how desperate we are for more woodlands, because the world is losing all its woodlands, of course, and we really need to replace it. So Brian May has done just that, and it's a lovely place, and you get to walk through it. Obviously the trees are all quite young. I've said that, some of them are getting on quite tall, so I bet it's more years ago than I remember. Kind of seems like 2 or 3 years ago, but I bet it goes back 10 years or more. My time scales are not good. Anyway, so I thought we'd have a little walk through the May's woods, Brian May's woods, and then we'll be heading back through into Bere Regis again after our short detour. So we're about to leave May's Wood and head on back to where we started. But we have one more thing to take in before we finish this walk. So we've reached the final thing before we head back into Bere Regis, and this is the Hamlet of Shitterton. It's the neighbouring hamlet to Bere Regis, and it was saved from all the fires that destroyed Bere Regis by the River Bere. Or the Bere Stream, I think it's actually known as, really. But it was the Bere Stream that protected Shitterton and saved it. And the consequence is that the buildings in Shitterton are older than the buildings in Bere Regis, which were destroyed and were rebuilt obviously later. And it's a beautiful little hamlet, albeit it has a strange name. Now normally at this stage, often I would be saying yes, but the name actually doesn't have anything to do with that byproduct of human existence. But I can't say that, because actually it has everything to do with that byproduct of human existence. The name actually means farmstead on the stream used as an open sewer, and it goes back over 1,000 years. Now the stream appears to have been known as the Shiter or Shitter at some point, which literally means brook used as a privy. The Victorians attempted to rename the village but completely failed. They wanted to call it Shitterton, but that failed completely. So that's not the only village with shit in its name, but it is the only one that actually relates to the real product called shit. And of course it's famous for that. So in 2012 it was voted Britain's worst place name, and that was a list that included another place in Dorset called Scratchy Bottom, which we've come across before. It also achieved 9th place in Britain's rudest place names list. Interestingly, despite all of that, Pevsner, the architectural historian, described it as the best part of Bere Regis. Interesting, and it's a very pretty village, I have to say. So the village name appears on a 1.5 ton stone block, and I don't know if anyone could venture to suggest why that might be, because it is for a reason. You could say that this was something to do with the quarrying industry, but it's not. The truth is that because of the name, every time they put a sign up, apparently it got stolen. And so it was decided to put the name up on a 1.5 ton stone block so that it didn't keep getting stolen. And apparently the chair of the parish council said, let's see them take that away on the back of a Ford Fiesta. I think that's a great story, and it's true apparently. So that is Shitterton. And of course not far away is the River Piddle. That's interesting. I wonder who put that up there and how they got it up there in the first place, because it's quite high up. Strange goings on in Shitterton. So we've reached the end of another walk, and what an awesome walk it's been. We've seen so much, some amazing footpaths, some great views, wonderful wildlife and wild patches, lovely woodlands. It's been beautiful weather. It's just been amazing. So, and I've loved it as always, and I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a great day. So once again, thanks for coming with me, and hope you enjoyed the day. But for now, this is me, the Dorset Rambler, saying until next time.